Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard here this afternoon as the Edmonton Oilers look forward to Game 4 with, well, after what was a convincing 6-1 win against Dallas, despite what everyone's talking about Dallas controlling that second period. I made mention of it in the post-game yesterday again. The Oilers have found a way so far against LA, so far against Vegas, and so far against the Dallas Stars through 3 games. Whatever comes their way, they find a way to weather it and come out on the other side of it. And now with a 2-1 series lead, a series that very well could be in the balance for the Stars should the Oilers find a way to win in game number 4. So what that leads us to is a whole bunch of injury updates in which the Oilers, the lineup kind of in flux here over the next few games, possibly due to guys returning, guys being out, and of course the head coach having to move things around. So what we talk about there is the simple fact that we've got 2 guys currently out of the lineup with injuries for sure. 1 guy potentially returning on Game 4's game night. So let's get there. If you are new to the channel, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you being aboard as always, even if you aren't subscribed. And let's get to it, friends. Let's get to the Connor Brown news from Chris Knoblauch today. Brown will be out for Game 4. And really, the nice part here for Mr. Chris Knoblauch is he kind of part and parcel with the update on Matias Ekholm left things open-ended on how the Oilers lineup configuration truly could go. I think a lot of people have a good feeling about how this will shake out, or somebody else has reported something. I really haven't had time to fully gather the news, but as far as we know, the lineup options are open tomorrow, maybe 11-7, maybe 12-6, but that's just kind of more so thinking on the secondary update. So Brown out for Game 4. The secondary update, Matias Ekholm, his injury will keep him probably out for the series if Bob Stauffer knows how it's going to go. But Chris Knoblauch kind of keeps it open-ended as well. He was a little tight-lipped on it in his interview today, and just kind of, again, the Oilers have had the advantage against Dallas at all turns in this series, simply because most of us outsiders on this team might sit here and say, well, it seems like Matias Ekholm could return at any point the Oilers feel they're in trouble. And that's kind of what Bob Stauffer pointed out in a text message read on the River Cree hotline today, or it's the Ashley Fine Floors text line. Again, advertising works sometimes, sometimes not. But Bob Stauffer talked about it, receiving a text saying, hey, like, do you take Jake Wallman out of Game 5 and put Matias Ekholm in if you win Game 4? And do you go from there and see what happens in Game 5 and just rest up maybe Wallman for an extra few days? Because, he's still not at 100% despite being marginally by miles better than he was in Games 1 and 2 against LA. So do you kind of take that and, rest a guy? What Bob Stauffer said is he believes that if the Oilers get the outcome they want in Game 4 and they go into Game 5, the Oilers may very well still keep Matias Ekholm out of the lineup. So, yeah, there you have that. So, what, Chris Knoblauch kind of keeping it tight-lipped, but then you have Bob Stauffer saying, maybe the Oilers are saving the best for the very last. And it would be a very huge advantage for the Oilers, especially with what's going on there in Florida with players in that series going back and forth into the end boards and pretty much being old games. It'll be a huge advantage to have somebody like Matias Ekholm come back fully rested, somebody who's a veteran, right? You're not talking about a rookie coming back from an extended injury. You're talking about Matias Ekholm. And if X comes back from a big time injury that he's been fighting pretty much all year, and he comes back and crushes it in the final, you know how that's going to go. So let's see what happens there. So that's Matias Ekholm. Now, what Chris Knoblauch, head coach of your Edmonton Oilers, was not so tight-lipped about today was the good possibility that Pickard is on the bench tomorrow for the Edmonton Oilers. So will still, it appears to be Stuart Skinner starting, but Pickard is, similar to how we finished Game 2 against Vegas, going to be good enough to go in a pinch. So we'll see what that translates to. It's obviously been awesome to see Ollie Rodrigue riding on the bench there in the NHL playoffs for the Edmonton Oilers. So hopefully maybe one more night for Rodrigue to sit on the bench and take it all in. But again, good possibility as well. We see Calvin Pickard get back into an Oilers uniform and sit on the bench in case the Oilers need him in game number 4. So that leads us to the situation where do the Oilers really need Calvin Pickard in game number 4, which it depends on which Stuart Skinner you get game in, game out. So far in this Dallas series, and again, look at how it's tough because I think when Stuart Skinner's going good, it's really easy to say, well, the bad game he had a couple games ago is just due to really terrible team play, right? The Oilers were just awful in front of him, and he's not good enough to save that, so, that's why he gave up 6 or whatever. That tends to be our argument, right? We try to make that apology for Stuart Skinner, which is fine. I have no problem with that. It's just when, things are going good for Stuart Skinner after a rocky stretch, people are so hesitant to give him his credit. And obviously what's been incredible about this series is all but one period has been lights out for the Edmonton Oilers in this series against the Dallas Stars. Once again, Stuart Skinner has been absolutely phenomenal through a solid 3 games of this series for the Edmonton Oilers, outside of the third against Dallas in game 1, which cost you a game in this series. Fine, fair enough. You probably were never going to sweep Dallas anyway, so it's okay, to lose one. And you got the split in Dallas, which is even better. But again, you're just kind of nitpicking there. The big thing is for Stuart Skinner, the fact that he kind of got the time off with Pickard coming in and pitching 6 straight wins, and then obviously as well having to be thrust back into a situation against a team like Vegas where he struggled, you would figure out that would be troublesome for Skinner. But maybe what was different against Vegas this year and what's the same against Dallas is that Stuart Skinner was coming in from a point of advantage, right? So comes in late or semi-late into the Vegas series without Vegas being able to have success against him and continue to pick on that success. Instead, he's able to shut the door pretty much after game 3, quite literally 2 straight. And then really Chris Knoblauch credits that, whether it be with Dustin Schwartz, I don't know, I can't find details on that, nor am I going to bother to look, but whether it be with Dustin Schwartz or somebody else, Stuart Skinner just really worked on the technical things of his game and just really has come up with a solution that over the past 5 games has really turned up positive for the Edmonton Oilers and the goaltending department. It seems crazy, of course, given how the first 3 games of the playoffs went for Stu, but now you're talking about a guy who's, played 8 games in this playoffs and as of now, right, has a 4-4 record, or no, 5-3. Yeah, 5-3. No, 4-4. Sorry, I keep forgetting about the loss against Dallas, even though I just mentioned it. But he has a 4-4 record in this series, in this playoffs. He's won a series. Yes, Pickard helped on the half, but 2 shutouts. I'll give credit to Stu. And on the other side too, he's got you up 2-1 against Dallas. So again, as we wait to see what happens with Pickard, I think at least until Chris Knoblauch has no doubts that Pickard can go in there, take contact, and kind of be targeted by the other team, it will be Stu Skinner in net again, as it usually is in the playoffs for the Oilers. But I think what you've seen these playoffs versus previous years is the Oilers' hesitancy around removing Stuart Skinner from the pipes in the playoffs has been removed. And now you've got 2 guys that can go out there and slam the door shut and win you hockey games. And the funny part is here, despite the 4-4 record, Stu Skinner's got much better numbers in both categories, save percentage and goals against, than Calvin Pickard does, despite having a 6-0 record. Crazy, I know, and that's been Oilers goaltending all year, right? Stu Skinner had the worst numbers and had more wins, but it just kind of ends up happening this way in the playoffs now. And as Oilers fans, I don't think we have anything to be except for grateful for that. The fact that, Picks gets the time to recover, Stu got the time to think about things and get the technical details back down and really slam the door shut for us while Picks is out. And now all of a sudden, Stewie's going to lead us probably to a 3-1 series. And then the real hard part for Chris Knoblauch is, does he want to just throw Picks in there and slam the door on Dallas by giving them a different look and confusing them really bad? Or do you stick with Stu, hope he continues this trend over the past 5 games and just, close out the series against Dallas? Stu Skinner, again, saves our bacon against a Dallas team. Again, that's pretty good. And then you go up against Florida, and who knows what happens from there. The Oilers probably walk home with a shiny new mug in the collection, at least for the summer. That said, that's a lot of Hooper talk. That's a lot of what if, what how about. But we'll see what happens here for the Edmonton Oilers on the injury front. Guys in, guys out, guys possibly not even playing at all this series. Friends, thanks for being aboard. I will catch you in the next one.